What are we discussing on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast? D-backs can't complete the sweep in Colorado, and why Eugenio Suarez should be a lock for the MLB All-Star Game.
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas, multimedia journalist, and I'm a graphic designer. So please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there, you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. Today's episode, let me actually see if this episode is brought to you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. On today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, we're going to be discussing the D-backs not finishing the sweep of the Colorado Rockies, why Ketel Marte and Eugenio Suarez should be locks for the MLB All-Star Game. Looks like I spelled Suarez's name wrong on the rundown. I apologize, Eugenio. Then we'll preview the Chicago White Sox series up next. So, jam-packed pod for you guys as always. But first, I want to say thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms. So please continue to tell your friends. One of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube. It's an interactive show. I try to go live on YouTube Sunday through Thursday. So drop a comment in the YouTube section. I'll try to read it as the show goes on. If you want to know when I go live, I always tweet out on social media at CreatorThomas24 for the personal account, or look up Locked on Diamondbacks, both Twitter and Instagram for the podcast handle. But now, let's get into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, already got some comments coming in. Ivan said, yo, bad loss today. Frog fan said, if the D-backs don't get pitching soon, I don't think we make the playoffs. Two very good astute points, because the D-backs couldn't complete the sweep of the Colorado Rockies, the team with the worst home record in all of baseball. Yes, the D-backs got the series victory, but going against these putrid teams in Major League Baseball, the Rockies, the Marlins, the White Sox up next, the D-backs can't settle for series wins where you just take 2 out of 3. D-backs need to go out there and sweep these teams. I know they're dealing with a lot of injuries, and we do have to look at the training staff and wonder what the hell is going on, because for a team that cares so much about their players' health, Gabby Moreno playing through a fractured finger without us realizing it, that makes absolutely no sense to me. Now he's going to be out weeks instead of days. So disappointing to see, because every time Gabby puts together 2-3 weeks of great baseball, feels like he has to then miss the next 3 weeks. So sad to see Moreno go. Carroll misses this whole series because of injury as well. He's going to get an MRI tomorrow. We're losing pitchers left and right on the major league level, like AJ Puk, down in Reno, like Tommy Henry. And so the injuries are piling up for the D-backs. And despite that, you still have to go out there and win these series, because you're still better than these teams, and do more than win the series. You have to sweep these teams. The offense looked great the first 2 games of the series. Ketel, Eugenio, I mean, you go up and down the entire lineup. Everyone put in work those first 2 games. D-backs almost hit their franchise record for hits in that first game of the series, right? With 21. So the offense showed up the first couple games. But in that finale, when you knew it was 4-2 for multiple, or not 4-2, when you knew it was just 1-0 and 2-0 for multiple innings, and the D-backs weren't doing what they did in those first 2 games, right? They weren't hitting home runs. They weren't getting traffic on the bases. Antonio Cinzentello was pitching very well against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And you knew if the D-backs did not get more offense going, it could be a problem, because as much as we love Brandon Pfaadt, and as much as he was cruising through those first few innings, we all know that third time through the lineup, once you get to that fourth, fifth, and sixth inning of a ball game, Brandon Pfaadt starts to get into his little Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and it's like, oh, let me leave this ball middle. Let me leave a hanging curveball for the folks. And he usually starts to give up home runs like we saw against Mickey Moniak. And so we needed the D-backs offense again to show up in the finale. They did not. Brandon Pfaadt ends up having a bad fifth inning, gives up 4 runs, and the Rockies come back to take the lead, and that's all they need to win this game. The D-backs can't complete the sweep. You look up and down. D-backs had 5 hits today. You know what would have helped the D-backs with their offense in this finale? How about not sitting guys, right? I understand Ketel Marte has a history of hamstring injuries in Colorado. Okay. I will take a step back and leave it up to the training staff there. Even though the training staff has not been good this season for the D-backs, I'll take a step back and say, you know what? Marte does have a history of hamstring issues in that building. Let's put him on the mend for the final day. But a guy like Lourdes Gurriel, who's been extremely hot for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and also sitting like Josh Naylor in this series, and just sitting different guys against the Colorado Rockies because you feel like you were in higher elevation. And Torey Lovullo's like, we got to get each of our best players a day off in Coors Field. The elevation's going to kill them. Why? Why do we have to sit our best players all the time in series and games when you're fighting to be in the wild card race? Why is it always the D-backs that feel like they need to have this plan to sit their guys in such critical games? No other team in Major League Baseball does it. You know how I know this? Because I went and looked. I went and looked at the Braves box score against the Colorado Rockies from a week and a half ago. Ronald Acuna Jr., who has missed a lot of time the last couple years, who just came back from a major injury, he played every game against the Colorado Rockies. The Mets, a couple of weeks ago, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, they're all playing every single day against the Colorado Rockies. I don't understand why it's the D-backs who feel like we have to sit our players in those situations. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It screams lack of urgency. I could get behind Ketel Marte because of his hamstring issues the last couple of years, but just to sit Lourdes Gurriel and the Josh Naylors because of elevation, Gonzo talked about it on the broadcast. He's like, when I was a player, I was playing every single day at Coors Field. Why would you not want to play in a hitter-friendly ballpark every single day? Again, these guys, baseball players, are athletes, but it's not like they're sprinting for 2 straight hours, right? They can go out there and play Coors Field. We see 7-game basketball series where teams have to go up there and play in Denver. You're telling me guys can't go out there for a few innings for 3 straight days and play a baseball game? It makes no sense to me. And so very disappointing to see the D-backs not finish the sweep because of this lack of urgency when it comes to sitting guys in Coors Field. That makes absolutely no sense to me. But if you do want something positive, D-backs added 2 more wins. As we keep saying, we need to get to 16 wins for their record in the month of June. They're currently at 12 wins now. There are 7 games left. D-backs need to go 4-3 against the White Sox, the Marlins, and they have 1 game against the San Francisco Giants to go 16 wins in the month of June. So a couple sweeps will be very nice for the Arizona Diamondbacks, but going 4-3 is really all I'm looking for the rest of the month. Now we'll discuss why Eugenio Suarez and Ketel Marte should be MLB All-Star Game locks in segment number 2. But first, I want to talk to you guys about Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1-ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. My favorite Wonderful Pistachios I actually have right here. Sorry to the audio listeners only. You're going to have to go to YouTube for this one because right next to me, I got 3 of my favorite flavors here. And this is what is great about Wonderful Pistachios. Unsalted right here, no shell. chili roasted, no shell. And then this one is roasted and salted with the shell. The great thing about Wonderful Pistachios is the variety. You could get salted, unsalted, with shell, no shell, get a little kick to it if you wanted to. No matter what flavor you want, they have a variety and a profile that fits just for you. So please go get yourself some Wonderful Pistachios, get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. Now let's talk about the all-star cases for Ketel Marte and Eugenio Suarez. Again, Suarez, I'm sorry for spelling your name wrong in the rundown right there, but Eugenio and Ketel have been on monster tears recently for the Arizona Diamondbacks. First, want to start by highlighting Suarez because he has been a monster for the D-backs this season, and it has been one of my greatest preseason predictions I've ever made because I predicted Suarez to have the best slugging season, best power season since his 2019 year with the Reds where he smashed 49 bombs. And my goodness, we might see another 49 home run season from Suarez because his slash line, the average is never going to be great, but a 569 slug puts him right at the top of the leaderboard with Ohtani and Corbin Carroll fighting for that number one slot. And after this series against the Colorado Rockies, Eugenio currently, I believe, is tied for the league lead in home runs with Shohei Ohtani. He has 25, and he leads all players in both leagues in ribbies. Suarez now has 67 ribbies on the year. If you're telling me Suarez shouldn't be the starting third baseman in the All-Star game, you're absolutely insane. When we did that crossover with Javier Reyes of Locked On Padres last week, he laughed when I brought up the all-star case for Suarez versus Manny Machado. Just a few days later, you would laugh if you think Machado has an all-star case versus Eugenio Suarez. When we look at the home runs versus the two players, Suarez has 25 big ones. Manny Machado currently has 12 or 13 home runs. I believe he has 12 home runs right now. So Suarez has more than double the home runs of Manny Machado. Suarez is at 67 RBIs. Manny Machado, at the time of me recording this podcast, is at 46. So he has more than double the home runs, more than 20 ribbies. You look at the slug because I'll give you, Manny Machado has the average, 309 average compared to just the 250 average for Suarez, but a 570 slug for Suarez compared to just a 503 slug for Manny Machado. Their OPS is basically the same. It's Suarez all day long. You can't tell me a casual fan is not going to go on the MLB All-Star ballot and just see Suarez leads the league in home runs, Suarez leads the league in RBIs, and he's not going to get the vote for the MLB All-Star game. It's going to come down to popularity, but the numbers, I think, scream Eugenio Suarez, and he's only getting better as the season progresses. In his last 24 games started entering today, Suarez batting .315 with a 1088 OPS and 11 bombs with 29 ribbies. He's been fantastic since the start of his second half hot streak going back to last year with a crazy OPS, a whole lot of home runs, and a whole lot of ribbies. He's been the most clutch player for the D-backs this season in 2025. You look at his numbers with runners in scoring position entering today, 324 average, 1176 OPS, and we know he's been a monster with the bases loaded. He's literally batting .500 with a 2125 OPS with the bases loaded, and it's because he has 3 grand slams this season with 16 ribbies, plus he has another 4 home run game this year. Numbers in high leverage moments, over 1,000 OPS. Like, Suarez has been a monster for the D-backs this season, and he is someone where if the D-backs are still looking at 2026 as a year to contend and they're still trying to win next season, I don't see how you don't re-sign Suarez, right? If the D-backs are being serious about buying at the deadline and adding pitching at the deadline and still try and go in on 2025, but I think for 26, you do have to bring Suarez back. If Suarez is back-to-back 30 home run or more 100 plus RBI or more seasons for the D-backs, I think you have to bring him back on a 1 or 2 year deal. I know we love Jordan Lawler. We want to see him on the major league level soon, but we can't deny the fact that from the eye test so far, from the stats so far, Lawler just doesn't look ready for the major league level. And that's okay. He's still 22 years old? Like, he barely has been legal enough, long enough to buy a drink. And so I think I'm okay if we want to bring back Suarez for another year if we're serious about competing in 2026, because he's been fantastic for Arizona. His swing fits perfectly for Chase Field. I love what he's brought offensively to the D-backs. And then Ketel Marte, he's the other guy that has to be a lock for this all-star game for the D-backs. Suarez has to be starting over Manny Machado. There's no comparison when looking at the stats outside of batting average. Same with Ketel Marte and the second baseman. The only thing Ketel does not have compared to the other second baseman on the all-star ballot is games played. Everything else, Ketel Marte is absolutely destroying the field. Brendan Donovan is starting to fall off in a big way when you look at his numbers. Eugenio Suarez, actually, looking at the MLB All-Star ballot entering today, 890 OPS compared to an 876 OPS for Manny Machado. Like, home run, you go on, they show you 4 stats on the MLB All-Star ballot. They show you average, home runs, ribbies, and OPS. Suarez destroys Manny Machado in 3 of those 4 categories. So that's why I am so clearly in on Eugenio Suarez for this All-Star game ballot. And then when you look at second base, where's second base on the All-Star game ballot? When you look at second base, it's Ketel Marte, and then all of a sudden now, Jeff McNeil is second among National League players in OPS. And there's just not a lot of productive second basemen in the National League. Jeff McNeil with his 250 average, 8 ribbies, 23 RBIs, or 8 home runs, 23 RBIs, and an 834 OPS. Like, that's going to stop Ketel Marte. I know Marte has less games played, but he has over 1,000 OPS. He has more ribbies than any of those guys, more home runs than any of those guys. Like, I don't think it's close between Ketel Marte and these other second basemen right now, because they're just not as skilled. They're just not as productive as Ketel Marte. And so I think it's Marte by a landslide this season. Brendan Donovan, let's see how many games played he has this year. Brendan Donovan's currently at 69 games played. Ketel Marte's, I think, at what is he at? I have his number right now. He's at 50 games played this year. So Brendan Donovan has played almost 20 more games than Ketel Marte. Guess what? Marte has a higher WAR. He has tripled the home runs. He's got more RBIs. He's got a better slash line. Like, the numbers across the board for Marte are just straight up better than Donovan. The numbers straight up across the board for Eugenio Suarez compared to Manny Machado outside of average are just straight up better as well. And so when I'm thinking about who should be in the MLB All-Star game, who should be starting at different positions, I think Suarez clearly should be a lock. His numbers outside of average are better than every second baseman or better than every third baseman in baseball. And he's tied for the league lead in home runs, leads all of Major League Baseball in RBIs. Just saying those 2 facts should automatically put you in the All-Star game. And then Ketel Marte, despite 20 games less played than every other starting second baseman, he's just straight up more productive than all the other guys. And so those 2 should definitely be locks. If Corbin Carroll can come back soon and not miss too much time, he should be the other lock for the Arizona Diamondbacks. But let's make sure in this next round of voting, we see the numbers for Suarez and Marte climb thanks to us D-backs fans. Now we'll preview the next series against the Chicago White Sox in segment number 3. But first, I want to talk to you guys about FanDuel, because summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball, under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the action while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. My favorite thing to do on FanDuel is the same game parlay, because I love taking Eugenio Suarez home run over on Ketel Marte total bases, and give me that D-backs money line. And that 3-leg hits brings a big smile to my face. Want a big smile on your face? Just visit FanDuel.com. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right. Back here on the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Now let's talk about this next series against the Chicago White Sox, because it's very much like the series against the Colorado Rockies. You have to go in there and you have to sweep these teams. You're playing the worst of the worst, the scum of the earth when it comes to Major League Baseball. And it's not just, I don't really blame the players. It's all ownership. Like, I want to go in there, and not just for the fact that the D-backs need these games to get back in the wild card race. We have to go in there just for like the spirit of competitiveness and what sports is about, the ethos of sports. The D-backs are in the NL West, in the division with the LA Dodgers, who have more money to spend than the U.S. government. And you got the San Francisco Giants, who are still, yes, they struggle to get the big stars. They're still one of the best ballparks in a big market in California with still a ton of money to spend in the history of winning. The Padres playing beautiful San Diego. They've built a team because they're not afraid to spend money as well. Like, you look at the D-backs and they're contending with these big California teams who are not afraid to spend money at all. And so what has Arizona done to combat that? They haven't just sat on their hands the last couple of years, right? Arizona hasn't just said, whoa, those 3 teams in California, they're really good. Maybe we should wait a few years before we start trying. No, the D-backs have said, well, let's go out there. Let's try to build a contender to compete with those teams. Anything is possible, right? Like we saw in 2023. Why can't we go out there and add the best free agent pitcher in Corbin Burns, right? Why can't we make smart decisions like trading for Josh Naylor or adding Jock Peterson last season, right? Like, the D-backs are a team that have gone all in on a squad despite being in a smaller market and knowing you can't spend at the same rate, or at the same total as some of those California teams. D-backs have decided we can't spend at the same total, but we could spend at the same rate. And that's what they've done to build this squad, which on paper has disappointed this year. Well, I'll say this. They have disappointed this year, but on paper, you would still take this roster entering the season over any other D-backs team in franchise history. Like, say what you want about the bullpen. The bullpen has underperformed, and I don't think it's as bad on paper as we like to make it think to be. Because entering the season, healthy, Puck, Martinez, Ginkel, Ryan Thompson, Beeks, Shelby Miller, like, that felt like a great bullpen entering the year. Martinez, Puck blew up their arms. Thompson, Ginkel have become absolutely cooked. And so the bullpen now looks terrible, but entering the season, this team was as flawless as it can be. Maybe it was one arm short in the reliever, but you had an elite rotation that has struggled this year. You had an elite lineup, and you had a pretty strong bullpen compared to what the D-backs have thrown out the last few years. So this has been a team that has tried to stay competitive and tried to build a contender in a division that is so loaded with other squads. The D-backs have not just said, let's just sit on our hands and do nothing. That's why I care so much about going to this series and defeating the Chicago White Sox, because I despise the Reinsdorfs of the White Sox, and they also own the Chicago Bulls because they just live off the idea that they play in Chicago and players should come play for our team, but we're never going to spend money. We're never going to actually put resources into our franchise. Andrew Benintendi was the highest contract ever given out by White Sox, or was the highest contract ever given out to a player by the Chicago White Sox franchise in free agency. Think about that. Andrew Benintendi, who is known for being one of the biggest busts in baseball after his rookie season, he got the largest free agent contract in Chicago White Sox history. You look at what the Chicago Bulls have done post Michael Jordan. Outside of drafting Derrick Rose, they have done absolutely nothing. The Reinsdorfs are a big issue when it comes to sports because they do not care at all about putting money into their team and actually building a contender. It's one thing to be bad, but be bad with the intention of rebuilding and trying to get better, right? There's a lot of teams that are like, it's not our year right now. Let's maybe just sell off a couple pieces and come back the year after. But I look around Major League Baseball and I feel like there are just too many teams that have owners that are just not trying at all and have not tried for years. They're just happy with their revenue splits. They're just happy taking home their paychecks without actually trying to build a contender. I would love to do a podcast where we just power rank the worst owners in sports, or at least in Major League Baseball, and the guys who need to go out first, because the Rockies owners on that list, the Chicago White Sox owners on that list, the Marlins owners on that list. I would put the Baltimore Orioles owner on that list because they never try to win games as well. And it's like, it's disgusting that you have these teams that are so profitable and make you so much money. Yes, not everyone can spend like the LA Dodgers, but more teams can take pages out the Arizona Diamondbacks playbook and at least spend at a higher rate compared to their payroll than what we're currently seeing in Major League Baseball. And so for the D-backs, we haven't even really previewed the series that much, but I'm just fired up because I hate owners like the Reinsdorfs who don't put any sort of care or resources into their franchise, and the D-backs do. That's why we have to go out there outside of just needing these wins for this series to stay in the wild card race. And of course, to beat the Chicago White Sox. I mean, we need a sweep. You look at the numbers. The White Sox are not a good team at all in terms of runs per game scored. They're second to last in the American League. They score 3.48 runs per game, second fewest home runs, worst average, and they have the worst OPS. Like, the offense is putrid. The pitching is actually not too bad, at least for the starters. We're going to see Shane Smith on Monday. 2.85 ERA and 14 starts. Like, the D-backs might have to watch out because those random pitchers that are having good years, they always seem to shut down the Arizona Diamondbacks. With Erod going out there, who has been shaky this season, but if you need a silver lining, he has been great against the White Sox in his career. If you look at Erod's numbers against the White Sox team, he has really done a good job against this White Sox franchise. Overall, the entire White Sox lineup has a 655 OPS against Erod. And so this could be a nice series to get some momentum for Erod and continue building momentum for this Arizona Diamondbacks team. Again, we need the series sweep, not just for the wins in the standings, but because of the spirit and the ethos of what it means to be a competitive team in sports. That's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Doses.